So, I'd like to just start by talking about my relationship to these boys. Gerhard was a printer for me originally. He did not publish me, but he did a beautiful book. Of course, it's You Are the Weather. That was our first contact. And when was that, Gerhard? 1995 or something? Something like this. And interestingly, the publisher that I was working for went out of business. And I became, Gerhard became my publisher at that time. And since then, we've gone on to work extensively. Book making is important to me. And it seems to get more important as I get older, for some reason. Having Gerhard in my life has been extremely important to me in my creative expression. So that's quite powerful. Daniel, who's much younger than us, I met through my gallery, I believe, right?
Uh-huh.
Is that how we met? How did we meet, babe? You tell the story.
Through Ursula.
Through Ursula Hauser, that's right.
You had a show in New York.
Right.
I think that's the first time we met.
Okay. And we just connected, so that became spiritually very, very, very meaningful to me, and Daniel can speak for himself. But I'm here to try to coax a few thoughts out of them, which I'm not clear how I'm going to do that. So you guys better help out here at some point, you know? Just dive in here. No?
I mean, we met because of you.
Oh, that's right. So at some point, Daniel wanted to do a book, and I don't know, I think I may have suggested that he would work, that Gerhard and him would be a great collaboration. And I brought Gerhard to the restaurant, which is always very impressive, and the food is always excellent. And that seemed to close the deal. So they went off together to Göttingen, and they made Eat More Plants.
I think Roni has told me so much about you and the work, and in a way, as a true collaborator and not as a, not as a publisher.
Right.
And just in a very inspiring way. And so I always wanted to meet you, and when you came, it was amazing. And working with you has been exactly that, and even more. I mean, going to Göttingen, it was just a special experience. I went twice for like a week each, and you work kind of like a chef. I mean, you work kind of like the chefs I worked for early in my career that I was so scared of. And I think there might be a little bit of motivation by fear going on even in your place.
But he softened up a lot in his old age, let me tell you. He was scary, now he's kind of a nice guy.
But Gerhard is definitely the first in the kitchen, which is at like 4:30 in the morning. And there are multiple artists usually staying with you at any given time, and everyone is sleeping upstairs of the printing and the whole place. What's amazing is everything happens in-house. You do everything. It's an incredible team. You guys are working like we are chefs in a kitchen. But you start your day at 4:30 in the morning, and first one in and also last one out. I mean, it's impressive.
But I go early to bed.
Yeah, which is what time?
10 latest, 10 p.m.
4:30 in the morning till 10. Short day.
Yeah, when when an artist is introduced to me to make a book, and it's a new collaboration, then I'm really looking what can I learn from this person? It is not important for me to make the book for commercial reasons. It is more that I feel myself in the position of a student, and I get knowledge out of the person with whom I'm working on the certain book project. And this is an experience I would like not to miss, because I have never been at a university, but I had my private professors at my place, and I had this artist professors for me exclusively. I'm not waiting in a queue with 20 other students to get a look to my studies, and I could ask them any stupid question and I will get a serious answers, because those guys want me to do a good job, and as more knowledge I have, as better I can work. And so normally every book is a unique thing, custom made for the certain artist. To give a short description, what is my position?
Yeah, and I would add to that Gerhard, he's not operating as a normal business. He finds income in certain places, and then he loses it on artists like me. And when I figured that out, and he was really good at making money, so I thought, oh, this could be a lifestyle. And the quality, of course, was never compromised. It was always essential to the accomplishment of the work.
And you know what I found out was really that for a chef cooking in the kitchen, and for me as a printer working on press, there are many similarities. You know, the first is that our business or our art is based on finding the best ingredients to start up the physical work. So he has to look for the best vegetables, the raw material for everything what he's doing, and I have to look for the best papers. And
if not the best artists.
Not the, you know, okay.
Let's get serious here.
Let's say this at the beginning of this talk. So, you know, in my industry, the owners of the companies have forgotten who are their work givers. So my work givers are the artists. So if there's not an artist bringing to me the certain artistic work, what I can release as a book, I have nothing to do. So the first raw material for every book we are doing is the artistic creativity, and the concept, the photography, the art, the writing, what is the base of every printed book we are doing. And once more, without you, I would have no business and I would have no job. So I have to do something else. So that's a deep respect, and many people forget this in our industry. But now, coming back, so the work I'm doing is just to listen when somebody's coming in and we make a kind of interview, what is like a doctor's appointment, where I try to find out what is a pain
He's wearing a doctor's
you
outfit
have.
too.
Yeah.
The white vest and
And then I try to find a therapy to get rid of your pains of birthing a book. And then we create a kind of formula which is very individual for every book. We are not doing series of books which are similar in size or page count or whatever. Every piece is custom made for the certain work and for the certain artist. And this process of collaboration is very concentrated and not subject to public. It's like what I learned from him, that he's test cooking days and days with a small team for the certain menu which is coming up for the next season. And nobody is allowed to look into his kitchen, and nobody is allowed to look into my kitchen, what is a printing press. But then at the end, when we have done the best out of the artwork, with a certain ingredients and with the work and labor of all the people, then a book like this is coming onto market and onto stage, and then it is public, and then we talk about it.
I like what you said about learning. For me, I think my relationship with you, I mean, it's so special the way we met. But then I feel like I've learned so much from you. It's incredible. I'm always with like a notebook or with my phone as you're explaining, you know, your stories of, I don't know, through art or growing up in New York or the things you're reading or the films you're looking at. So,
But that's a little bit who you are, because you are such an active learner with everything that's meaningful around you. I noticed that you immediately kind of focus on these things. And this relationship, for example, with Gerhard, clearly it's very complementary.
Yeah. And this afternoon, we had been in Daniel's test kitchen, and he was building up a set of pots with vegetable ingredients inside, which had been prepared for the next season's food. And I was building up a table with ink pots and various kinds of papers, and a little heating plate to warm up the inks. And so we were both cooking together, he with his material, I'm with my material. And we found out that the physical process to come at the end in his restaurant to a dish which is beautiful, arranged with the meal and showing beautiful colors, and which makes an experience in your mouth and in your body what is extraordinary. And on my side, at the end, we were coming up with a product which is for all your senses and for all your mind, because a book is an object you hold in your hand, and it is for all senses in the fingertips. When you take it close to your nose, it has a beautiful smell, or a bad smell if somebody does not understand how to create a good smell with ink on paper. So in our world, it has a good smell. Then it is a nice sound for the ears when you turn over pages, and the air which flows out of the paper and makes a certain sound when the paper falls on top of each other is nice for the ears. And then, of course, for the eyes, which transfer the information printed on the paper created by the artist into your brain. And this entire experience makes your life richer and makes your body feeling better. Same as your craftsmanship.
I mean, I've never thought or heard of that in making a book, that the smell of the book is part of the process, and that different books should have different smells. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And that's what's so inspiring about what you do, that every detail is just so thought out to a level that it's, I haven't met anyone like you, and I've been around a lot of, professionals who are driven by high standards, but I think your standards, it's just on a whole different level.
Well, I wouldn't say Gerhard's a dime a dozen, but you both are, I think when a person achieves a certain level of acuity in their craft and in their awareness and their sensitivity, you get this melding of senses and this higher level of experience, in a sense. You both share that in the experience you offer your audience. Really, there's not a huge difference, I think.
No, I think there is a lot of similarities for sure.
But I want to give you a short lesson about printing and publishing industry. When at around 1880, first books with photos and visual matters, illustrations had been created and printed. And from the beginning, it was the intention of the printers and the publishing houses to make really a beautiful object of art about it. The first visual book which has ever been made with photography was by Anna Atkins, and it is, it has over the decades, it has not aged at all. It is so. You have to research if you don't know who Anna Atkins was, Atkins. You will understand what is the subject and why it is so beautiful and important to look to these visuals as by today. And over the years, on the decades, I would like to say, printers were becoming artists and collaborators of the art scene. And then approximately in the 1960s, 70s of last century, offset printing was coming to play. And the industry was never interested to create machinery and products for the arts. They were only interested to increase their profits. And to increase profit means buy things cheaper, make them faster, produce more, and sell more. And from the 1970s on, the fine art printing was dying step by step. The books were becoming cheaper. Millions had been printed, but the quality was getting worse and worse. And by today, we are really at the end of this process. If something is printed, it is printed digitally. Digital printing is an extremely cheap process because papers are limited, inks are limited. You cannot really print a good black and white photo because black and white, as I'm doing it with tritone processes and so on, is printed with solid blacks and solid grays, but in digital everything is printed out of the four-color process. And when you look to the results, it looks all flat and it is not bright and there is no contrast and so on, because the knowledge is lost. Knowledge was also lost by giving up the integration of all processes under one roof. In 1950, for example, most of the publishing houses in Germany had their own printing presses. So they were printing what they created as publishers. And then they started to outsource things because it was more effective. Specialized companies were doing the typesetting, doing the image processing, doing the printing. And the publishing houses were just focused on providing the intellectual stuff which needs to be printed. And on the printer side, also the knowledge was lost. In the old days, if you went, I'm not saying that the old days were better. I believe in the future and that the future will be better if we work hard and get under control the global warming disaster. But at first, typesetting was sourced out to specialized companies, and then image processing, and then plate making, and at the end they were only printers to get the information from the plate to the paper. But also the aesthetical education was disappearing. Mm-hmm. In the old days, you went to a printer and you asked, I need a book, and what kind of printer would you use? What kind of type? What kind of printing process? If you go today to a printer, he has no answers, he or she. You have to go to an agency or to an agency, and they are also lost because they don't have any knowledge about the physical printing processes. And so there are just a handful of printers in the world, not more than 5. One is here, Meridian Press.
Yes,
at
very
Long
high
Island.
quality. Yep.
Then in China it is Atron. That's the biggest printing company in the world, but it is family owned, and they are quite independent from politics and doing beautiful books. And Korea is one company, and Bangladesh is one company where I educated the printers and teach them how to make good books, and then it's us, and that's what you have available when you want to release and print a good book. And my mission is, with an event like this, to find young people who want to learn from us and how to work to make very special and high quality products in cooking and in printing, and to find interest to build up their own business in the same way, so that the knowledge is transferred to the next generation.
But you were telling me earlier that even at the beginning of your career, you had a project and you wanted something printed, and you went to a printer and you wanted a really black paper with a dark red over it, and you couldn't get it done. And so I think it takes special people along the way who want to, do exceptional work.
For myself, I cannot work with someone who at any point says, well, that can't be done.
Yeah.
That's an automatic, okay, I'm out of here. And even with engineers, and this, that you really have to have somebody that's as motivated as you to invent an answer or a way to realize something that you might not understand at the moment, but you have the desire to go there and create something that hasn't been present before in the world. And I think we're all involved, the three of us are all involved in that level of discovery.
No, that's right.
So my relationship with Roni Horn was in the beginning that I was just a printer for Steidl Publishers in Switzerland up to the moment they went bankrupt. And when we started, it was really hard work. And this afternoon when we were speaking at Roni Horn's studio about new book projects, she said to me, I was always good in identifying colors, but I could not express how to release them on paper when I stay in front of the printing press together with the printer. Yeah? And so that was for me a motivation to get at first an understanding of the artistic skills, and even if the certain person, as Roni, could not translate very well what she wants to have. You know, as a technician, I could say, okay, the black is too heavy, take it down 3%, and the yellow needs a better density, so take it up 30%, and whatever. There are always formulas of communication. But over 30 years of working together, we calibrated our
our language, really,
our mind to get really the information from her from her brain through my brain onto the paper. And this education process, in fact, I have with every artist with whom I have a very long relationship. You know, when I started, I thought that's really a pain to work with Roni, because it is she could not express what she wants, and it was very frustrating because I was waiting to get exactly the information what I have to do to make it right. And then years later I understood, no, I have to find the formula as a servant for her and her work. And
it took me a long time to understand that I have an eye for what's wrong, but I don't always know how to make it right. And that's where Gerhard really complements my knowledge. And this is actually the first experience I've had of somebody telling me that I don't know what I want. We have to have that discussion sometime.
Yeah, and now at those days when we did the last book this spring, the Mother Wonder book, it was really a nice experience staying together at the light table to make color corrections. So we looked at a certain photo from Iceland. She told me the story where she took the photo, and then I said, okay, but the photo looks fuzzy to me. There is a certain noise running along. What is that? It was a film wrongly processed or whatever. And she said, no, that was, I was doing the photo and it was sunshine. 3 minutes later, clouds were coming up, and 10 minutes later there was snow. And that what you see, what you identify as noise, is technically not noise; it is snow.
It's the weather, yeah.
And so, by learning this, we had some small talk. In between, we were talking badly about other people.
Were we? What did we say?
and this and that, and having a good time, and it's very relaxing.
We actually use the whole process as a social event between us, no?
Yeah.
I mean, we really, you know, when you work with somebody very closely and somebody you really respect and you trust, you get to go places you can't go alone, and you get to go places you've never been. So, this is what happens with these boys and me.
Well said. Yeah. But, you know, for your work, have you ever made drawings for, or other way around? When we worked together at Göttingen, and he showed to me the drawings, I saw that there was always a certain color space for a menu creation of spring, summer, fall, and winter. And when I looked to the drawings he brought to me to print this book, I saw this color shifting throughout the seasons, but I did not really know where it was coming from. Yeah, and then later on I learned that you look very serious to the vegetables which are available for the certain season, and how you could get the best colors out of them and to create the dish on the meal on the plate like a drawing or like a painting. Was that always the way you created your menus from the beginning, or was it also a process of learning and understanding?
Well, I think first the drawings started really early. I was working for a chef, and he was really, really creative, but he was kind of chaotic, and he was the kind of kitchen where he didn't know the menu until like 7 o'clock at night that night, and he didn't even make orders from the suppliers. He just told them, "I'll bring whatever, it's nice." And so then he would go in the afternoon and he would go walk with his dog, and then eventually he would show up and there's already people in the dining room. And the wait staff would come in the kitchen all stressed out and say, "Chef, where's the menu? Where's the menu?" And he would yell at them because he wasn't ready yet, and so the guest had to wait until he was ready. But and also the dog was also with him in the kitchen as well, and he would smoke also when he was cooking. But it was the kind of place where he had a bunch of chefs around him, and he would say like, "Oh, get this and get that, get this fish, get the truffles, and we would create these incredible meals night after night. But then the next day he would be like, "Oh, do you remember what did we do for this person, or what did we do?" He forgot everything. So there was, and so every day everything was from scratch. It was very like emotional sort of cooking from him, and at times it was very good, and then at times it was less good because you need systems. But so I was like, wow, there's all this knowledge, and so I would go, at like 1 o'clock in the morning, I would go back to my room and I would like try to draw some of the dishes that we would make with the ingredients that we used, and sort of like the sort of like short recipes.
What was the motivation to draw?
I was there to learn, and because it was so chaotic, and unless I was drawing, I would not have the information.
Was there an element of improvisation for this chef, do you think? Or was it
completely?
Just...
It was. That's all it was.
But there's something to that. I don't know about so much in food. I never heard that before. But in music, certainly, a lot of other, and certainly in visual arts, improv is an important element.
Yeah. No, it was magical. I mean, there was so much magic.
Scary
there.
And magical, which is a good,
Yes, but improvisation. I don't know if it's true in music, but in food, it becomes inconsistent.
That's right, you hit and miss.
It might be a great moment, and in music, maybe you're lucky and it's recorded and then it's there forever. But in cooking, we do what we do every day over and over again. So it does require a little bit of a system to do things. But then in terms of how the drawings have evolved.
Yeah, if you want a certain consistency or quality, then you need a system.
I believe so.
Yeah, but when I think about music, for every location, musicians come together and the improv is based out of that actuality. Yes. So in a way, you can't really have the system that a cook might have, And, when I think about the experiences I had listening to music in the 70s, I think that taught me the most about the experience of something, how profoundly dependent it is on these very fugitive awarenesses, And I can imagine your mentor. I would think it's extremely stressful to try to control everything in food. I mean, that and him trying to just kind of keep the moment in it, keep the improv going, that he can just be in. This evening, it's going to be a discovery every evening for him. I can understand that desire, but it's probably not good business, huh?
Not good business. He is no longer in business. But yeah, but also so stressful, and the biggest part, it's just also often there's misses.
Yeah, right. I mean, and that's like, if you're a client, it's not very well appreciated, but it's inevitable.
Yeah.
If you're going to improvise,
But
you're going to have misses.
To be around it as a young
It's a
cook
good, yeah.
was fascinating, because he was like an artist. But on the colors and the seasons, for me, it's like with every season, we get to meet the ingredients again. So it's like, in the spring we have the asparagus and the strawberries and
Which are different every
spring
year.
garlic. And they're different every year, and you get better with them. Your relationship gets different every year, and hopefully deeper. And I think in the beginning of my career, I tried to manipulate a lot more than today. And today I'm really trying to get as much out of the way as possible, so the ingredient can really, like, I want the ingredient to shine as bright as possible. And I think that takes a lot of experience. And then the problem is sometimes you feel like, oh, now I'm getting close, but then the season ends, and then you're starting working with other ingredients, but then you have a chance next year. So I think in the drawings, it's sort of like a meditation on these ingredients as I'm thinking about them, and I'm thinking about all the years of working with them and all the things we have created so far, and hopefully for the upcoming season to do even a better version.
One of the things that I'm really inspired by in your approach to food is the hiring, or I don't know whether you bought the farm and you control the product you work with and what it's going to be, and the quality is very, you can be certain of it. That's really radical in the food chain, to provide yourself with a source that's reliable and of a certain quality,
I think having our farm upstate has definitely been a game changer. Also, in a way, like when we switched from cooking meat and fish, of course it was scary and leaving all these things behind, and it felt like it might be limiting, of not having...
Well, you were told that. I remember the conversations you would have, and people were like, I don't know if, we're ready for that kind of thing, and you just went ahead with it, which is,
But when we speak about ingredients and vegetables and seasons, there's not a lot of seasonality about meat. And meat, I mean, I'm sure there could be made a point in some, game or something, but there really isn't, and it kind of tastes also the same kind of always. And in a way, like when you cook with vegetables, it is truly of the season. Like the entire dish is of the season. And when I look back sometimes now, I feel like maybe before we were just cooking seasonal condiments. To me,
it's true.
Maybe we were just
condiments are really the center of American dietary practice.
Yes.
It's all condiments, and then you add a little meat on the side, or a potato or something, But I was thinking that the idea of, I grew up in the States, and unfortunately that was around the time they started with the big processed food thing.
Yeah.
And I never liked food when I was a kid, and eventually I went to Europe and I discovered cheese and things like that, like mold and all those tasty things. And I realized that I never knew that all of the living ingredients that go into food had seasons. Yeah. Because again, America was always, there was no season for apples. You would put them in CO2 atmosphere and keep them from ripening for 6 months or whatever, that kind of thing. And that is a very distorting relationship, because of course the relationship of food to the body is like the primary language, right?
Yeah.
And I started out really completely perverted by the processed foods and the lack of knowledge about, seasonality. So I think working with vegetables the way you do, I think that is an unspoken education.
Yeah.
When I come into your restaurant and it's a completely different menu, of course, now it's a winter menu, and you're more aware of time and the seasons and the quality of the light and the darkness, all the things that affect growth, and that you're really in a way more integrated to things around you when you eat with your awareness. So
I'm glad that I think people are really waking up to this, that, well, it's a fact that I think the single most powerful thing we can do in terms of climate change is to choose what is on the plate. That is really powerful, and I think with every time we choose for it to be vegetables, it is making a difference.
yes,
But I think climate is such a abstract idea for so many that the change is happening slower. But I think what's going to make the change happen even quicker, hopefully, is the conversation around health. And when you talk about processed food and how bad these are, like food as medicine and what we put in our bodies, how there is actually, we have the data.
yeah. I mean, America, we tend to rely on vitamins and herbal remedies and all this. And I've always wondered, I'm taking this vitamin, which really I could get it from a carrot, but I don't eat enough carrots, and you don't know whether the body's absorbing it the same way it absorbs that element from a carrot. I think that the balance of things is much, much finer than, American engineering has allowed until very, very recently. And we're still being dominated, unfortunately, by these products and medicines and a mentality that is, in a way, simplistic, too simplistic for the body to be as responsive as if it were eating a vegetable in season, grown to its prime. So,
what was fascinating to see when I spent time with you, you have a chef that cooks every day, like a multi-course meal, in fact, and everyone eats together, and whoever is there, whatever artists are there, is going to eat. And I don't know if it was just because I was there, but all the meals were always plant-based.
No, that was very funny.
they usually are, no? He cooks a lot.
The chef we have is cooking every day for the guests. It's not a canteen where employees also coming up. So it's just for the guests which are in the house. And that's always, multicultural, so from several nations, black and white people and several religions, and we are coming all together. And it was just a practical thing to eliminate meat and have vegetables, because you don't have to ask everybody, okay, do you eat fish, do you eat meat, or do you whatever, and so it was a practical thing. The other thing was before the chef was and the kitchen was installed, I forgot throughout the day about the workload I have to eat, and then I forget simply to eat, and I was not hungry. But then in the evening, I was hungry like a wolf and was eating too much and too heavy and too fat, and I was getting fatter and fatter. I had a weight of really almost 100 kilos, what was not very healthy.
I remember that. I remember like 3 slices and a cup of tea in the middle of the day. 3 slices of apple.
I was working together with a famous tailor, and he helped me to dress up.
Okay, well, all right, well,
Anyway, then when, but I wanted to say, so when the meal is coming onto the table, it is 3 courses, salads or whatever, then a main course made out of seasonal vegetables, and a dessert made out of fruits. And if you get up, or if I get up, I can work from 1 second as before, but feel better because I had eaten something. But if you have a meal in Paris for lunchtime, you can forget the afternoon because you're tired and you have to go to bed and you have to have a nap.
Yeah, your meals were always light, but half the time I noticed you didn't arrive, so everybody ate without you.
Yeah.
Oh, I've had that
happened,
too. Yeah,
happened a lot.
Yeah, that's my bad behavior, because when then the chef is calling me and saying the lunch is ready, and I said, okay, start with all of them with a starter, and I come for the main course, and sometimes then I enjoy so much the time I have is my prime time when everybody is out or sitting at the desk and I'm alone and have not to talk and not to make decisions and can prepare something by myself. Yeah. But I want to say a little, it's not an anecdote, but I remember how this kitchen was once set up. So was working over 3 decades with Günter Grass, the German writer, and when he was receiving in 1999 the Nobel Prize, we had really enormous print runs to have his books available. Really, 100,000 of books were printed, and it was making good money. And then, after all the Nobel ceremonies in Stockholm and so on, we started to work on new books. And Günter was sitting in the library, and we were talking about good books, and then he said to me, you know, I have an idea for you. All the guests you have, they have not the permission to leave the house throughout the day. So they are sitting here in the library and waiting that they can eat something in the evening. And that is stressful for your guests and for the artists, and it's also stressful for you. So take some money you have made with the books I brought to you and install a kitchen and a chef. So it was his idea.
Amazing.
I thought you were inspired, but
No.
what did I know? Nothing to do with you.
Hey, but one thing about eating plant-based, what we have felt in the restaurant, what you're talking about, the energy and, you know, getting up, we also have noticed a totally different energy in the dining room. It used to be like people would come and it was very, very lively early in the night, and then sort of like around the main course time, it was kind of like the energy was
low.
Was more dying. People start being tired, and, and now it feels like as the meals go on, there's almost like this euphoria that people have.
Keep your energy.
And the energy is
the
up,
lightness of it.
it's a real thing.
So kids, let's have some questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one's for you, Gerhard, and technically me, but I'm not supposed to be addressed directly by the audience. Vegetables are very seasonal. Roni and Gerhard, how did the seasons influence your art and artistic lens?
That's a good question. You know, I have to say, for the print production, or for the creation of books, the season has not a meaning at all, and it doesn't matter really, except that in winter, when we receive paper from the factory, it comes ice cold, frozen on a truck, and we have to temperature it in our warehouse at least for 2 weeks to get the right humidity and temperature to be on press. And in summer it's just the opposite. It is hot delivered, and all the water which is in the paper has disappeared, and we have to add a lot of humidity to get it plain again. that's maybe one thing. But another thing is, what has also to do with you, very sensitive books of photography, it is best to print them in summer when you have 12, 14 hours of daylight and to make the color check at daylight. So years ago, decades ago, I printed with Roni a book with photos about the River Thames. And, you know, in this grays and bluish, waterish, dirty colors, there were tiny little important changes to see. And if you had a little bit too much red, magenta as we call it on press, the photo was destroyed. And with artificial light, you could not see it. Yeah? So we set up the rule that really very important photography books are printed in summer and to go down to daylight and look at it.
That's right. And
Gerhard
built me a little desk outside, like an easel desk where you would put the print and decide what direction the color really needed to go in. I was completely stressed to do any color correction in the artificial light. I just didn't trust my eye in the fluorescent light.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say the seasons have any effect on my work at all. I work because of them as what they are, and I take it as it comes. I wouldn't say there's any difference between, I love the winter for its darkness and I love the summer for its light. Then I just keep going. Next question. This is for you, Danny boy. Are any of the drawings in the book of dishes in the restaurant?
The drawings are not really of the dishes.
No.
The drawings are more
notational, ingredient, maybe inspired.
Starting the thoughts, there are actually, and you've seen them, but there are evolved drawings after those drawings where it's more like there is a circle on the page and it's sort of like, okay, what could actually an actual dish be? And these are
like
done
a starting point or
with color
something.
pencils, and it would say like, okay, this is a butternut squash, and it's cooked in this way, and but the first ones are just really to get the first thoughts flowing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Here's another question for you, Daniel. What advice would you give to a primarily meat-based home chef to transition to making plants the star?
That is a very good question. And you know, it's one that also me, myself, as a home cook, had to sort of relearn. Like I think it's, plant-based cooking is not a new thing.
No.
It's been done for, centuries, and more so by other cultures. That I was come up in or that I was looking at. So I think it's been incredible. Like it's incredible to be a chef for 30 years and still feeling like I'm at the very beginning. But I'm just like looking at all kinds of other cuisines now for the restaurant dishes, but then also for at home, because I think we all, I don't know about you, but me, I have like maybe 5 or 6 sort of like go-to meals that I cook at home. Yeah. I don't have more. And sort of like just relearning what those are, and even looking at books, looking at Middle Eastern cookbooks, Indian cookbooks, Italian cookbooks, whatever, but like sort of relearning, okay, what are these go-to dishes? And then when you have them, then it becomes like just the new normal. But in the beginning, it does feel it requires more thought, because roasting a chicken and making a salad, or that seems quite manageable, and maybe it's a little bit more. In the end, it's not more elaborate cooking vegetables, but we have to relearn it.
Yeah, it's a different palette or range. You know, it's funny, when listening to you talk, I'm thinking about vernacular, music, architecture, food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm thinking about, for whatever reason, Lebanese food, let's say,
Yeah.
versus Italian food. And those are the vernacular differences among these cuisines are really striking and wonderful, you know. And even that, I mean, whether it's just plant-based or it's largely dominated by meat, you know, they're different regardless of the ingredients. There's a whole attitude towards the food and the way it's presented, the way it's served. All of that, I think, is also key. So, another question for you, kiddo, is what does the title "Eat More Plants" mean to you?
Well, it kind of stemmed from, you know, our restaurant is referred as EMP in short.
Okay.
And so this is
Ah,
kind of
it's an acronym,
where
huh?
this came from.
Okay.
But it was like, it is like the perfect message.
Yeah.
Because although our restaurant is fully plant-based, we don't believe that the world overnight is going to become fully plant-based or should. 11 Madison Park is we're pushing boundaries, and we always have, and we want to show how far this can go. But the message is really eat more plants or eat less meat. You know, in the U.S., the average person eats.
Like I think you said, it's not technically against meat,
Yeah.
but it is about a balance that's way out of whack right now for humanity. Gerhard, something for you? Are you up to it? I see you're sort of starting to flag a little bit over there.
Time.
What's the biggest challenge in making this book, Eat More Plants?
Yeah, it is. I have only printed one cooking book in my lifetime, and those were the recipes of my chef
That's right.
Rüdiger.
Yeah.
And that is a gift what is not on sale, but the guests who are coming to us, more than 1,500 guests we have every year, get one copy home. And actually, when you introduced Daniel to me, I was not very excited to make a cooking book. Yeah? And I said, why doing that? And then we had this meal at the dinner at your restaurant, and I saw certain things which were very special and I have never seen in my life before. His company has the name Make It Nice, and I saw in many details that he and his team was making things very nice for the guests in the restaurant. The best I ever saw was the table next to us was getting new cloths. So a person was coming in with a little suitcase, the new cloth on the arm, it was stretched over the table, and then out of the suitcase he took a little iron, and with heat he was planing the folds in the new tablecloth, yeah, and it was that was done for every table.
Level of care in your work is extraordinary, and it doesn't flag through the evening. The energy remains constant.
Yeah, and then I was really by this evening, it was magic for me. I was really, I understood that that what you are doing is something special. It is the entire experience to get somebody satisfied who is coming in hungry and who is leaving the restaurant not with heavy food in the body, so really ready to go to bed and sleep well and wake up and not having headache by wrong alcohols or whatever and wrong food. And I think to translate this concept into visual matters, is something very serious. And since the book is available, we got many requests from people who bought it. They are saying, okay, we thought I ordered at Amazon a cooking book with recipes, and now we got a book with drawings, But now we understood what is the concept of your Eat More Plants, EMP restaurant. And then, as I said in the very beginning, for me it is interesting. In my life it was always interesting to meet people who are crossing borderlines. That was when I started to work for Joseph Beuys. He was using unconventional materials, fat and felt and rusty stuff and dirty stuff, and combined it into amazing artworks, and so I learned to be respectful with ugly
hybrid,
ugly looking materials, and garbage stuff, what others were throwing away. I'm using up to today for creating new books, and in a certain way, this crossing of borderlines I found very interesting, and that was a reason to work very hard to get this translation of making physical food into a visual object. And I think, and people told me, when they looked through the pages of the book, they get an understanding what means to be respectful with the food or with the agricultural products grown on this globe, to be respectful with them and to get out the best you can get.
All right. We have a question here for the chef, which I can't read. I'll get my glasses. Curious to know if your failures or the shortcoming of life play a part or find their way in your final creative expression. So here, books, news, business ventures, menus, books, menus, business ventures.
Can you say?
Should I repeat it?
Yes.
Curious to know if your failures or the shortcomings of life play a part or find their way in your final creative expression.
I don't think I am at my final creative expression. Hopefully not, but...
Meaning I think whatever the food, whatever the end of a given thing is.
I think the failures are so important. I think there is no failures in the creative process. There is, there's editing that is important, but I don't think there's ever a failure.
The failure is to take the risk. If you don't take the risk, that's a failure.
I think that's right.
That's it. That's the only failure in a creative process.
So I think what we do is we document everything. Like, we try out so many things and we document it and we document it. And, sometimes we look at these things and it could be from an idea of a dish to the end result. There could be 20 different versions. Sometimes the last version isn't even ever going to go on the menu even. But sometimes it
But
does.
it got you where you want, what
But
you did.
all these stages in between, they maybe didn't make it on the menu now, but eventually they might. And it's just accumulating knowledge. Even the things that didn't work is just gained knowledge. Right?
Yeah, and I find as a visual artist that, definitely you're doing a lot of work that you don't want to have leave the studio, but you need to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to add something to this question. With a friend of mine, Tisius Chan, he lived in Singapore. He is he's doing fashion. He works for Levi's, creating jeans. He's designing furniture, and he's a visual artist in doing drawings and sketches and comics. And we started a program, a book program that is called Steidl Werk, and then it is numbered, number 1, and we are now at number 32. And we called this reversed engineering. In technical matters, when you are in the car industry, for example, a car is designed and the technical features are built up, and it is very revolutionary because it's has an electric engine and so on, and so people buy it. So after 2 or 3 or 5 years, the whole product has to be relaunched with technical efforts. It is made better, and it looks better, the design is better, it uses less energy, but that always takes a lot of creativity by technicians and also a lot of resources from our globe. And then when the product once comes to the end of its lifetime, the whole project is stopped and a new product is coming up. Yeah. And reverse engineering in our mind is we forget about printing high tech. Yeah. So as an example, when we put a new printing plate into the machine, we have to run approximately 500 sheets as a minimum to get the plate clear and to get the image in the way
the quality
it has been technically optimized onto the paper. And now we say, not for every project, of course, but with some, that we accept the first sheet which comes out of the press and which has no quality at all, because it is dirty and the water is not constant and the level of ink is not constant, but we accept it. And we stop the whole production in the moment the sheet is getting clear. Yeah? So that what we normally throw away, because it is not acceptable from points of quality, we say, okay, this is an let's say, technical and chemical accident on press. Yeah? And we bind these garbage sheets together, and a beautiful object is coming out. Yeah? And also, reverse engineering means also that we bind the books in a certain way. It takes too much time to explain this in detail, that you cannot open the book right away as a normal book. So to open the flap and to turn over pages and read it. So you have to take a knife to cut it, yeah, and then certain pages are glued together, not by accident, because we want it, and then you have to crack the book, to fold it out, and out of the book you receive a book sculpture, which is coming out of the garbage materials, and you're not having the knowledge how to open it seriously, and we don't have it either as a creators. And so the whole thing is then an experience of working with paper, reading the book, looking to visuals, and making out of the whole thing a book sculpture which sits on your prime table in your room and makes fun for you every day.
So now the question is, we have one last question and we're over time. let's go for the last question. It's addressed to all three of us. What would you be if not a publisher, a chef, or an artist?
Yeah.
I know what I would be. Dead.
No, I have no idea because when I started, I knew that I want to do something with photography and paper and printing, and that I have been done from the age of 12 up to today, and this development of the technical and aesthetical features is my life, and or whatever, I cannot think about it.
I think I'm extremely happy to be a chef because it has so many outlets of creativity and collaboration. But I have a deep love for design and architecture, and I think being an architect, if that would be something that I would be really interested in. I think it's quite an amazing thing to, build these sort of monumental buildings, museums, public spaces that are going to really become part of a city and people's lives. And I think that's a really incredible profession.
Well, it's funny, I thought a lot about architecture when I was younger, and it's very important to me in my life and way of looking at things, but it's a very social form, requires a lot of collaboration, and I know I'm not a social person. I didn't see how I could make that, happen for me. So, yeah. I think you would be great at it.
I think for me it would be the patience. I think so too. I think there's a lot of it takes a lot to get a project done, and I think you gotta schmooze a lot to impress a lot of people.
But you work well with a lot of people, and you're able to give trust and even perhaps disperse a little control.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
I think collaboration is definitely a key element in running a restaurant, and I know that's true for you too. In your team is incredible. It's a team sport. Yours less so.
No, yeah, I'm out there, still walking. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Roni.
Thank you.